Chapter 14 of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. This Librivox Recording is in the public domain. Chapter 14. A General Good Time, The Harem, French. By and by, when we got up, we turned over the truck the gang had stole off of the wreck and found boots and blankets and clothes and all sorts of other things, and a lot of books, and a spyglass, and 3 boxes of cigars. We had never been this rich before in neither of our lives. The cigars was prime. We laid off all the afternoon in the woods talking, and me reading the books, and having a general good time. I told Jim about what happened inside the wreck and at the ferryboat, and I said these kinds of things was adventures, but he said he didn't want no more adventures. He said that when I went into Texas and he crawled back to get on the raft and found her gone, he nearly died, because he judged it was all up with him any way it could be fixed. For if he didn't get saved, he would get drowned, and if he did get saved, whoever saved him would send him back home so as to get the reward, and then Miss Watson would sell him south, sure. Well, he was right. He was most always right. He had an uncommon level head for a nigger. I read considerable to Jim about kings and dukes and earls and such, and how gaudy they dressed, and how much style they put on, and called each other often your majesty and your grace and your lordship and so on, instead of mister. And Jim's eyes bugged out, and he was interested. He says, "I didn't know there was so many of 'em. I ain't heard about none of 'em, scasely, but old King Solomon, unless you counts them kings that's in the pack of cards." "How much do a king get?" "Get?" I says. Why, they get $1,000 a month if they want it. They can have just as much as they want. Everything belongs to them." "Ain't that gay? And what they got to do, Huck?" "They don't do nothing. Why, how you talk. They just sit around." "No, that's so." "Of course it is. They just set around, except maybe when there's a war, when they go to the war. But other times they just lays around, or go hawking, just hawking and Shh! Do you hear a noise?" We skipped out and looked, but it warn't nothing but a flutter of a steamboat's wheel way down, coming around the point, so we come back. "Yeah," says I, "and other times, when things is dull, they fuss with the Parliament, and if everything don't go just so, he whacks their heads off. But mostly they hang round the harem." "Round the which?" "Harem." "What's the harem?" "The place where he keeps his wives. Don't you know about the harem? Solomon had one. He had about 1,000,000 wives." "Why, yes, that's so. I done forgot it. A harem's a boarding house, I reckon. Most likely they has rackety times in the nursery, and I reckon the wives quarrels considerable, and that creased the racket. Yet they say Solomon the wisest man that ever lived. I don't take no stock in that. Because why? Would a wise man want to live in the midst of such a blim-blamming all the time? No, indeed he wouldn't. A wise man had taken build a bottle factory, and then he could shut down the bottle factory when he wants to." "Well, he was the wisest man anyway, because the widow, she told me so her own self." "I don't care what the widow say. He warn't no wise man, nuther. He had some of the dad-fetchest ways I ever see. Does you know about that child that he was gwine to chop in two?" "Yes, the widow told me all about it." "Well, den, warn't dat the beatenest notion in the world? You just take a look at it a minute. There's the stump there. That one's the women. Here's you. That's the other one. I's Solomon, and dish your dollar bills the child. Before one of you claims it, what does I do? Does I shine round amongst the neighbors and find out which of you the bill do belong to, and hand it over to the right one, all safe and sound, the way that anybody that had any gumption would? No, I take and whack the bill in two, and give half on it to you and the other half to the other woman. That's the way Solomon was gwine to do with the child. Now I ask you, what's the use of that half a bill? Can't buy nothing with it. And what use is half a child? I wouldn't give a dern for 1,000,000 of 'em. But hang it, Jim, you clean missed the point. Blame it, you've missed it 1,000 mile. Who, me? Go along. Don't talk to me about your pints. I reckon I know sense when I sees it, and there ain't no sense in such doings as that. Dispute wasn't about a half a child. Dispute was about a whole child. And the man that thinks he can settle a dispute about a whole child with a half child don't know enough to come in out the rain. Don't talk to me about Solomon, Huck. I knows him by the back. But I tell you, you don't get the point. Blame the point. I reckon I knows what I knows. And mind you, the real point is down further. It's down deeper. It lays in the way Solomon was raised. You take a man that's got only 1 or 2 children. Is that man going to be wasteful of children? No, he ain't. He can't afford it. He know how to value 'em. But you take a man that's got about 5,000,000 children running around the house, and it's different. He as soon chop a child in two as a cat. There's plenty more. A child or two, more or less, want no consequence to Solomon. Dad fetch him. I never see such a nigger. If he got a notion in his head once, there warn't no getting it out again. He was the most down on Solomon of any nigger I ever see. So I went to talking about other kings and let Solomon slide. I told about Louis XVI that got his head cut off in France long time ago, and about his little boy the Dauphin that would have been a king, but they took and shut him up in jail, and some say he died there. Poor little chap. But some says he got out and got away and come to America. That's good, but he'll be purty lonesome. There ain't no kings here, is they, Huck? No. Then he can't get no situation. What he gwine to do? Well, I don't know. Some of them gets on the police, and some of them learns people how to talk French. Why, Huck, don't the French people talk the same way we does? No, Jim, you couldn't understand a word they said, not a single word. Well, now, I be ding busted. How do that come? I don't know, but it's so. I got some of their jabber out of a book. Suppose a man was to come to you and say, Parlez-vous français? What would you think? I wouldn't think nothing. I'd take and bust him over the head, that is, if he warn't white. I wouldn't allow no nigger to call me that. Shucks, it ain't calling you anything. It's only saying, do you know how to talk French? Well, then why couldn't he say it? Why, he is a-saying it. That's a Frenchman's way of saying it. Well, it's a blame ridiculous way, and I don't want to hear no more about it. There ain't no sense in it. Looky here, Jim. Does a cat talk like we do? No, a cat don't. Well, does a cow? No, a cow don't nuther. Does a cat talk like a cow, or a cow talk like a cat? No, they don't. It's natural and right for 'em to talk different from each other, ain't it? Course. And ain't it natural and right for a cat and cow to talk different from us? Why, most surely it is. Well, then, why ain't it natural and right for a Frenchman to talk different from us? You answer me that. Is a cat a man, Hook? No. Well, then there ain't no sense in a cat talking like a man. Is a cow a man, or is a cow a cat? No, she ain't either of them. Well, then, she ain't got no business to talk like either one or the other of 'em. Is a Frenchman a man? Yes. Well, then, dad blame it, why don't he talk like a man? You answer me dat. I see it warn't no use wasting words. You can't learn a nigger to argue, so I quit. End of chapter 14.